Welcome to episode 256 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. It's July 14, 1989. Rio de Janeiro, Maracanã, Copa América, Uruguay against Argentina, and Oscar Ruggeri is sent off, which is already a story. But here's the detail that makes it an OTD story. Oscar Ruggeri had also been sent off against Uruguay 6 days earlier. Same tournament, same opponent, same rivalry. Same kind of match where history sits on the shoulders of defenders and asks them not to lose their heads. On July 8, Argentina beat Uruguay 1-0 after Ruggeri was sent off early. On July 14, Uruguay beat Argentina 2-0 after Ruggeri was sent off again. 2 Argentina-Uruguay matches, 2 Ruggeri red cards, 6 days. That is not just discipline. That is character, rivalry, provocation, temperament, and Copa América all colliding in one very hard Argentine centre-back. But how did we get here? Start with Argentina and Uruguay. Not just the countries, but the football corridor, the Rio de la Plata. Buenos Aires on one side, Montevideo on the other. 2 cities staring at each other across the water, sharing migration, language, tango, meat, politics, football, pride, and enough resentment to build a century of matches. Argentina against Uruguay is one of football's oldest international rivalries outside Britain. And for a long time, it was not a side chapter in world football. It was the chapter. In the early South American Championship, what becomes the Copa América, Argentina and Uruguay define the competition. Then the rivalry goes global. Uruguay win Olympic gold in Paris in 1924 and announce South American football to Europe. In 1928, in Amsterdam, Uruguay and Argentina meet in the Olympic final. 1-1. Replay. Uruguay win 2-1. Second straight Olympic gold. Then 1930, the first World Cup in Montevideo. Uruguay against Argentina in the final. Even the match ball becomes an argument. Argentine ball in the first half, Uruguayan ball in the second. Argentina lead 2-1 at halftime. Uruguay come back and win 4-2. And the next day is the national holiday in Uruguay. In Buenos Aires, anger spills toward the Uruguayan consulate. So when Argentina and Uruguay meet, it is never just 2 teams. It is memory. 1928, 1930, Copa América, Maradona, Francescoli, the river, the argument. Now meet Oscar Ruggeri, El Cabezón, the big head. Born in Corral de Bustos in 1962. Centre back, tall, strong, aggressive, aerially dominant, hard in the tackle, hard in the stare. He comes through Boca Juniors and plays with Maradona in the Boca team that wins the 1981 Metropolitano. Then, in 1985, he does the almost unthinkable. He leaves Boca for River Plate. Not alone, Ricardo Gareca goes too. But Ruggeri becomes one of the great betrayal stories. Boca fans do not simply dislike the move, they treat it as treason. Ruggeri later said Boca Barrios tried to set fire to his house and with his parents inside. He also said they burned his car. At River, he wins everything. The league, the Copa Libertadores, the Intercontinental Cup. And there's a perfect Ruggeri detail. In a Superclásico at La Bombonera, after being hacked and hated and whistled by Boca fans, he scores an equalizer and celebrates with everything he has in front of the Boca end. That is Ruggeri. He doesn't lower the temperature. He lives in it. With Argentina, he wins the 1986 World Cup. He is part of Bilardo's structure around Maradona. Not elegant in the European sense, not decorative, but necessary. And by 1989, Argentina are world champions, but not a smooth team. Maradona is there. Bilardo is still there. The 1990 World Cup is less than a year away. The team is hard, compact, and often unpleasant to play against. The Copa América 1989 is in Brazil. 10 teams, 2 groups of 5. The top 2 from each group go to a final group in Rio. Argentina are in Group B, based in Goiânia, with Uruguay, Chile, Ecuador, and Bolivia. They open by beating Chile 1-0, then draw 0-0 with Ecuador. Uruguay start badly, losing to Ecuador. Then they beat Bolivia 3-0, and then they beat Chile 3-0. And now, July 8, Argentina against Uruguay, round 1. Uruguay have Enzo Francescoli, Rubén Sosa, Antonio Alzamendi, Rubén Paz, Hugo de Leon, Nelson Gutierrez, Oscar Tabarez as coach. Argentina have Maradona, Uruchaga, Batista, Trollio, Pumpido, Brown, Sensini, Caniggia on the bench, and Ruggeri. 16th minute. Ruggeri fouls Francescoli. Second yellow. Red. Argentina have to play almost the whole match with 10 men. But somehow they win. 68th minute. Maradona releases Caniggia. Caniggia scores from a narrow angle. Argentina 1, Uruguay 0. So Ruggeri's first red card doesn't cost them that day. Argentina finished the group top, despite scoring only 2 goals in 4 matches. Uruguay also squeezed through on goal difference after Chile and Ecuador fall short. Then the final group. Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, Paraguay, all at the Maracanã. On July 12, Uruguay beat Paraguay 3-0. Then Brazil beat Argentina 2-0. Bebeto and Romario. Argentina's unbeaten defensive tournament is gone. The world champions look tired, blunt, and strangely out of ideas. Now, July 14, on this day. Uruguay against Argentina again, 6 days after the first one. Ruggeri has served his suspension and is available again. And he starts. That is the setup. Same opponent, same emotional file, same players who already know he can be pulled into the fight. Uruguay start well. They have more pace in transition, more clarity. But Argentina do have moments. Maradona, from near the halfway line, chips Javier Zeoli and hits the crossbar. One of those Maradona almost goals that survives because the idea was outrageous, even without the finish. Then the mistake. 38th minute. Roberto Sensini plays a poor back pass. Rubén Sosa reads it, rounds Pompidou, and scores. Uruguay 1, Argentina 0. Now the match becomes exactly the kind of match Uruguay want. Argentina chase, Uruguay wait, and Ruggeri is in the middle of it. 64th minute. Ruggeri brings down Sosa. Cynical foul. Red card. Again. Against Uruguay. Again. 6 days later. Was he provoked? Almost certainly in the football sense. Not necessarily with some secret plan. We don't need to invent one. Uruguay had the perfect players to press his buttons. Francescoli could draw defenders out with elegance. Sosa could run into the spaces behind them. And Alzamendi could turn a match into a sprint. And Uruguay knew that Argentina's centre-backs were carrying frustration, pride, and a tournament slipping away. So even if it wasn't a conspiracy, it was absolutely a tactical and psychological target. Make Argentina chase. Make Ruggeri turn. Make the hard man defend space he doesn't want to defend. And then wait for the foul. After the red card, Uruguay close it. 81st minute, Sosa again. He breaks forward, resists pressure, and chips Pompidou. Uruguay 2, Argentina 0. Final whistle. Uruguay have beaten Argentina. Ruggeri has been sent off against the same opponent twice in 6 days. And Argentina's Copa América has become a warning sign. But so what? Immediately the tournament moves away from Argentina. They finish third, but this is not the Argentina of 1986. They don't score a single goal in the final group. Brazil win the Copa América 2 days later, beating Uruguay 1-0 at the Maracanã. That match is played exactly 39 years after the Maracanazo, which gives it its own historical echo. We'll get back to that here. For Uruguay 1989 is close, but not enough. They are defending Copa América champions from 87. They beat Argentina, and they finish second. But Brazil are the hosts, and Romario's goal wins the title. For Ruggeri, the double red card becomes a strange stain on an otherwise enormous career. Because we should be clear, Ruggeri is not just a cartoon hardman. He's one of Argentina's great defenders. World Cup winner in 86, World Cup finalist in 90, Copa América winner in 91 and 93, 97 caps, South American Footballer of the Year in 91, a defender good enough to play for Boca, River, Logroñés, Real Madrid, Vélez, America, San Lorenzo, and Lanús. But he also belongs to an era when defending came with more violence, more intimidation, and more permission. And with Ruggeri, the line between authority and explosion was always near. That is why the 1989 double red feels so him. The opposition matters. It had to be Uruguay. Not because Uruguay were innocent, not because Argentina were victims, but because this rivalry has always rewarded emotional precision. Uruguay know how to suffer. Argentina know how to provoke. Both know how to turn a match into a test of nerve. And Ruggeri, of all players, fails that test twice in 6 days. How rare is that? Very. Players get sent off against the same opponent, of course. Sergio Ramos is a modern club example, with 5 red cards in El Clásicos against Barcelona. Gerardo Bedoya, the Colombian Heartman, is usually listed as football's all-time red card king with 46. And football history is full of repeat offenders in derbies, players who keep seeing red because the same fixture keeps finding the same nerve. But the Ruggeri's case is more specific. Same national opponent, same continental tournament, same 6-day window, same player walking off twice. That is the rarity. And it is also a reminder of how Copa America used to feel. The old Copa was not only a tournament, it was a family argument with studs, short rest, same opponents, old grudges, refs trying to control grown men who had been raised to think that losing a duel was a personal insult. And one final point, this didn't destroy Ruggeri. 2 years later, Argentina win the Copa América in Chile, and 2 years after that, they win it again in Ecuador. Ruggeri is part of both. In other words, the man who lost his head twice against Uruguay also becomes part of Argentina's return to continental titles after a long drought. That matters. Football remembers the red cards because they're cinematic. Careers are larger than the cinematic moments. Before we go, 3 things to take away from July 14, 1989. First, Argentina-Uruguay is not just a rivalry. It is one of international football's oldest arguments, from the South American Championship to the 1928 Olympic final to the first World Cup final. Second, Oscar Ruggeri's double sending off only makes sense if you know the player. Boca-to-River, world champion, heartman, leader, fighter, a defender who lived inside pressure. And third, Uruguay did not need a secret plan to provoke him. They had the match state, the rivalry, Francescoli, Sosa, transition speed, and 6 days of fresh memory. On this day in 1989, Oscar Ruggeri was sent off against Uruguay in Copa América, 6 days after he'd been sent off against Uruguay in Copa América. Same opponent, same tournament, same fire. That is all for episode 256 of OTD, your daily dose of soccer history by 17 Lost Guy. Please rate the show 5 stars so it can keep climbing the charts and we can welcome new listeners to OTD. Tomorrow, we go to July 15, 1930, Argentina against France, the referee blowing 6 minutes early, and a World Cup match that had to be restarted after it had already ended. See you then.